Hi everyone. Hi TRG members. I see a few unfamiliar names on the attendee list, so I'm presuming they've seen our public invitation from our Facebook group. So for those people, hi, I'm Lee Harris. The other voices you will have heard are Jeff Mayem. Say hello, Jeff.
Sorry, I'm muted. Hi there. I was muted.
And so Jeff's my co-founder in Trading Research Group. We might see Jeff's screen a little bit later. And Jonathan Van Kloot, our community manager, part man,
Meow.
part cat. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
Of course you did.
Oh, unbelievable. So what we do every Thursday in Trading Research Group, one of the many live meetings we do each week is what we call a fishing trip, where I look at the opportunities around the first hour's range in ES, CME, E-mini equity futures. And it's one of the core setups that we teach in our order flow beginners courses, first one of which starts this weekend. So that's why we opened up the session today, to enable people to see if they understand my lack of accent and get a sense of the way we go about doing things in TRG. So what we'll do is we're going to watch ES over the next 10, 12 minutes until we get to the end of the first hour's range, the initial balance in market profile terminology, and we'll see if we've got some opportunities to trade the break of that first hour range. And that is an interesting trade to take because it happens pretty much every day on ES. And then approximately 2 days out of 5, it goes back all the way to the other side. That's also a nice trade to take. Now, where we are today, which I was playing around a little bit in the last half an hour, it's a little bit awkward today. The indices are not correlated. ES and NQ are down, RTY and YM are up. So nothing is broadly up or down, but the indices are not moving in the same direction as a group, which is what we would expect. So I'm going to be a little bit cautious. I'm going to just trade the very best opportunities that come about, the ace king opportunities as we refer to them, and I'll do kind of stream of consciousness as stuff goes along. I am trading live. I'm only trading micros because when I do two things at once, I don't want to put my equity at risk. But you know, if I fire orders in, they are going in onto an account. I'm not in sim. If I press this, I'm in sim. No, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, certainly rangy day as it has been yesterday. Jackson Hole Symposium, lots of central bankers sitting around talking about things, sharing COVID germs with each other. So in the absence of anything exciting, plus summer, it could be rangy, but ranging days make for good scalping days because we can scalp the range. So I don't expect a particularly big, dramatic or exciting breakout of the initial balance range, given the context, but you know, we'll see what we've got. As we sit, that's weird. Zoom has told me now that participants can see my screen. I knew that 5 minutes ago. Anyway.
A little late to the party.
Yeah. In terms of what I'm
moving average of announcements.
There we go. Yeah. I promised the Structural Foundations group, which is an optional add-on group we run in TRG, which will be meeting after this at, I want to say 5:15 UK. Oh, what's that? 17 minus 8. Flipping our brains a mess today. 9:15 Pacific, 11:15 Central. I said I would change my views around to be more vertical, more prop firm-like. So most of my screen here is made up of, they're not really domes, they're domes and a bit more, but I've got the vertical view of ES, I've got the session, the pullback of the session, the pullback of the pullback. In here, some MBO information, price, resting orders. Then I've got NQ, RCY, and YM. So I'm keeping a mini footprint down here just so I can see inside the TPO, the market profile structure, which is telling me B period extended A period by 2 ticks. But we've ended up with a nice price rejector pattern at the bottom of the section as a session. The top is almost a price rejector, a little bit of drift there at that level at 91.5, 482 contracts. But yeah, only 13 lots hit the bid at the very bottom, not much aggressive selling. We could easily just bounce around. which, like with JVC, not my favorite type of day. But, we'll see what comes. I notice on ES I have got an orange line on my daily chart telling me that I've got unfinished business up here at 97.75. There's a good number. I can probably see it here. So the all-time high was not high enough. If we look at that on the 30-minute chart, where did that occur? So that occurred going into the close on... It's Thursday today. I suddenly had this brain fart and I thought it was Wednesday. No, so as we went into the close, we did not reach a price level that was high enough to run out of buyers, although we did it with some decent absorption, hence what I call a trade away unfinished business. But sooner or later, like conclusion of a Jackson Hole symposium, we could well revisit that. So interesting to know that although we've made a new all-time high, it is not telling us it's too high. And look at where we are compared to the big fat round number, 4,500, where there are 666 lots in the book. Of course there are. Someone's having a little joke there. But there's a single order of 285 contracts within that 666 total volume. So there's a potential magnet up above us at some point. But we don't just buy willy-nilly. We look for good opportunities, get long as and when the time's right, and then keep that in mind that it sits there above us. NQ just went down as Menji, has broke the lows of its range. Meanwhile, RCY is pushing up and YM is in the middle. So look here how ES is, it's trying to be dragged down by NQ. So the interesting thing to watch might be how far down does NQ need to go in order to say that's enough, and potentially we move up. We've got 5 minutes to go until the initial balance is formed. So let's dive in a little bit on NQ and see what's going on. So overnight, let's just crunch up my view here. The overnight low is 295.5. This is my 2-tick crunch view of NQ. I can see that on my, whoa, lots of, hi Alex, how's Greece? It looks like it's quite a bright day from your webcam. You're going to switch off in a moment. There we go. So I'm interested now to see how far down does NQ go before it potentially goes, that's enough. So on the daily, it played with that unfinished business there, which is what, 310 kind of level. The reaction of NQ around the overnight low is going to be interesting. And so I want to watch ES, how it behaves as NQ is going down. We could have a little clue about the initial balance break. Maybe it's going to be our one of 35% all days week break of the initial balance low on ES. Wow, look at that. Big push down, some aggression, leading a lot of zero prints. Big absorption, 417 lots at 80. There's some energy on the downside. We've also got this zero print in ES sitting here at 78. Is that going to hold us? Look how we're approaching that, just as we're approaching the low on NQ. Okay, we've gone through that. It's keeping going. Oh, somebody has clearly said something bad.
What the heck just happened? Yeah. So, yeah, somebody said something.
Yeah, that's news. Afghanistan, Jackson Hole Symposium. Look at how RCY has come off and YM has come off. So now everything is down. Yep, this is macro. So this is heading down with some huge aggression. There's not much holding us here, but I don't want to join in on something like this yet. I'm late. We saw that down. Now, what's interesting is aggression here, all the zero prints. We have to see what happens when we get back up towards them. Do we refill? And because I'm concentrating on the first hour range trade, I don't want to dive in and just do other stuff. Looks like we're still heading down. This is news. Who's done what? Has Jan funded his account again? Messing with you. Having a quick look. Explosion outside Kabul airport. There you go.
Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah. When did that break? 1523? No, it was earlier. 1501, 1452. So this has already happened.
I'm showing it updated at 10:21 a.m., which was right when that move just happened.
Turkish Defense Ministry, 2 explosions at airport, no confirmation. So we're now going to experience price discovery. Yeah, this is reacting to news. Good time to sit on hands because the market is digesting information we haven't thinned out in the book. We have not formed a low that is good quality yet. So I think we're going to go down, but I'm going to be super strict and wait for half past because with this area where we push down through 82.5 with the 0 prints, yeah, I don't think French growth forecasts caused that, Stephen.
Why not?
Oh, I'm hoping that's said tongue in cheek, but it's funny either way around. So it'll be interesting now as we head up to this area where we push through with some aggression, leaving the 0 prints around 82. You could scalp long up towards that and exit, but I'm going to be really quite strict and wait for first hour's range to form.
On that exact note, with something like this event looming and unfolding as we watch, how does this impact your assessment of the AB to IB? Did you mute yourself? I think
no.
You did.
I'm thinking it's a really good question. I will still trade what I see, including what is the price action. Well, we had price discovery. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look on the daily chart. We went through this area, these dashed lines of my 0 prints from earlier. So we've gone through an area that was a vacuum, but we're still not low enough. So I think we could easily explore down a bit further. But if this turns into a 2-sided day, that could be fun. RTY has turned up now on the day, and RTY will tend to lead ES. They can have a clue in that. This area around 82 is going to be interesting as a potential inflection point because that's where the aggression came in on this move. So ultimately JVC, the decisions are made by reading the traded volume. So the C period has just opened now. So my read of the traded volume isn't going to change, but we might not get good reads because of the nature of the trading, or it might just happen so quickly. We could get sweepy. So what I think is likely to occur, we're going to revisit this area, then I want to see what happens around the 82 level. It's funny, isn't it? Because at the start of this session, we're just talking about Bush and, market moving tweets. So news with a Z is on Jeff's process overrides everything.
Yep. Bushtastics.
Yeah. Trump farts. So we're pushing up.
Boom, there you go.
Yeah. Now, looking that, it's nibbling back through that area of aggression. It's giving us some nice price rejectors here. If we come down with any decent energy, I might look to play short. We'll try that, and I will exit at 69.75 because there's not enough volume there yet for it to be a price rejector. So I'm banking on a break the first hour low. Our 0 prints held here. My entry wasn't bad. I'm wrong if this pattern breaks. I'm absolutely wrong if we eat through those 0 prints. I'm going to protect this one tick in profit. Can always get back in, reassess what's going on if that's taken out. Let's see what occurs. In our pullback bar, so our pullback from the session is looking quite nice. The top of it's good. We're hovering around the maximum positive delta in it. Yeah, we're on our way down, I think. So to your question again, JVC, even in a price discovery, sweepy, news-driven event type time, we can still use what the traded volume tells us to try to gain an edge. If we're thinking
probabilistically, there we go.
If we're thinking in bets.
Yes.
So the question, of course, is what is below us that could be interesting? 639 lots at 64 3/4. What an odd size order to have in the book, 639. What shall I do today, Mr. Morgan? Oh, I want you to buy 639 lots of ES. Interesting. What is that price level? 64-ish? Is that anywhere? Some magic fib retracement of what's what? The daily chart is, because I was speaking to this a little while ago, wasn't I? About, could we be getting a nice topping out pattern for all of the technical analyst chart pattern readers, potentially?
A real quick comment on what you were just saying about the order book. I've asked my friends regularly that trade that size book, can trade 500 to thousands, the games they play, posting orders like that. And it's one of two things. It's either they're playing games like Trader Dante with 666, or frequently, if it's a really exact number like that, it's part of an algorithm where, it's putting on two sides of a trade or in a different market or a spread. And so it's
balancing things.
Exactly. So that exact number is actually relevant. So anyway, fun to watch.
So I'm going to allow this one to play out because I want to demonstrate the structural idea. My entry was reasonable. If it comes back up and takes out the stop, fine, we'll see what happens. But rather than take profits, trade around it, let's just see if this idea of the aggression, the zero prints as an inflection point, the price rejection, the pullback bar, this level where my exit is not being a price reject, so that should be a good place to get out. I think we will get our inside out trade of the first hour on this quite early in the session. Then what we need to do is see, is it going to be a two-sided day, or are we going to continue in a particular direction? Then we'll start to play around with whatever I see. And Jeff, I don't know if you want to do any price action scalping based on what you see, but we can just bounce around if we see that this one fulfills. And for our visitors who we may have, this is kind of the stuff we do every day in our trading. This is one of my go-to trades every day. Without wavy lines, phases of the moon indicators, or Fibonacci levels.
What's your wave count?
Pie.
Excellent choice.
Yeah, cherry pie, vanilla ice cream. Yeah, that's my favorite multiple.
Must be dessert.
I'm long, but it's price action based, not structure based.
Yeah. So. Oh, and you're long, which is going to now make my protective stop get hit.
Of course,
you did it.
That's me.
But there could still be a re-entry.
Yeah, I see what I'm actually getting in and out around what you're saying, because they are exits for the scalps from the bottom.
I'm wanting to do this just as a simple one-lot demonstration of a structural trade. We could do two lots, and we'll get out of the second one where at the edge of this range, where the big negative delta is in the pullback, just to get something. We can see in the profile of the pullback bar. And what we'll do, structural guys, I said last week, we'll deep dive a bit more into the particular trades and any questions that come up from this more vertically oriented viewpoint from that which we've done previously. Let's just have a look at the other indices, how they are looking.
So you're saying your vertical orientation is a choice?
Indeed. I like to think of myself as vertical plus.
Vertical plus, there you go.
Yeah. NQ has unfinished business at the low of the day, as does RTY. YM is quite orderly. Let's take something off there. Well, we're in this negative delta piece of the pullback, just so we can bank something. We'll protect this trade again. And let's see if Jeff doesn't push the market back up again with one lot micro, then we might have a chance of heading back down.
I'm flat here. So as far as scalping, no trade. We're smack dab in the middle of the range.
This range, which we can see, well, look at where the big deltas are in the pullback.
Yep.
So our immediate move off the low is bounded by 80.5, 75 3/4. Be interesting how that relates to the LRCs.
Yeah, interesting. It does do that, even though the math is totally different. So, it's one of those things where the conclusion is the same, analyzing differently. And when you can do that, that's often a good chunk of an edge right there.
Confluence
that is not just random. The odds that those two things would randomly land at the same prices is close to zero.
So we have to break down through 75 3/4 in order to get a nice move down. There we go. Hello. It's mad when these things happen, isn't it? We say something and now look, the big negative delta has moved down. It moved up 76.5. It was at 75 3/4. Moved up. So that push down it caused a reaction. Where passive buyers stepped in has moved up by 3 ticks. And it's at the edge of the range. We can see within this profile. We might bounce around this range.
Again.
Yeah, we could bounce around this range forever. I doubt it. Sooner or later, one side will break. I can just visualize how it would be on the fast chart. We just had probably a little mini high volume reversal there, or potentially a spring.
Yeah, we're in this tight little range on the fast LRC, kind of the middle of the range, but for the regular LRC, but it's the action's on the buy side here at the very moment. It's counter trend, but there's definitely a good counter trend scalp opportunity. I've been picking off 3 and 4 to like 10 ticks over and over again, just to nimble.
Look at this in the NQ pullback. The big positive delta is a round number 300, and they're the wrong way round. So the bouncing around NQ is, unless NQ can get above 300, we're not going to head further up.
I have that number as 322 for NQ. That's the top of the LRC. That's got to clear that if it's going up, and that's not happening. Yeah.
I was looking at in here, in the immediate, so the pullback off the low, this is where the aggressive passive selling, the aggressive passive, let's say motivated, the motivated passive selling is at evens. So whereas we have got passive buying at 76.5, which was 75 3/4 on ES in the pullback. So those are buyers defending it. Here we've got sellers defending 300 in NQ. Okay, there's an order of 250 lots. That was there anyway. 70. I'd like to get one more on. If we got one more on in the audience, I'd like to get one more on and head for this 65 level. But the question has to be where to add. And look at me, Mr. Greedy, wanting to get more on after a nice short trade, hopefully exiting 69 3/4. We'll see. I was speaking to somebody earlier, a potential student for a class. I don't know if they are attending. I think they are. It's realistic to get 5-10 point trades out of structural moves on ES that happen pretty much every day. Okay, stops triggered down there. Potentially would put one 75 3/4 is interesting. If I can get a fill. So I'm looking at the pullback on the 30-minute bar. There's almost a price rejector at the top of the pullback with 90 contracts adrift. So if I can be part of those 90 at 75 3/4, okay, I got filled, and I want to see if I can remain short if we head down to this 65 area. I'll still protect this. This whole Afghanistan stuff is terrible, especially if now they're terror attacks. That's atrocious. But it shows how, newsfeed or Squawk wouldn't have helped you there. The price move was the news. We looked after the facts, just tried to see what is behind a price move. By the time you assimilate that, you can't do a thing about it.
Yeah, so that's why I don't even run a news feed. Yeah,
no, just distracting.
Yeah, I'll figure out what it was tonight. I'll read I'll read it then. What's it doing? How's it reacting? That's all that matters. I don't care what the cause is. I'm not smart enough to figure out the relationship between the cause and effect anyway. I'll just let it tell me.
And it could react in a totally different way. So why don't we just rely on the output rather than the input and trade what we see? Okay, it's stalling a little bit here. I still think it's going to go further down. If I was trading the minis, I'd be scalping in and out of this, but we'll let this structural idea play out. Oh, lovely. Thanks for sharing, Stephen.
That would do it, I would imagine.
Okay, so the RTY is breaking its lows.
A quick comment on that. It might do it and it might not, but at the end of the day, the money has no place to go. It's that we still have that problem unless we start seeing, capital shifting massively.
Yeah. This is actually flight to cash at the moment. So everything to be falling. This is just a question saying, get me out.
Yeah. And they could decide, oh, no big deal. And let's get back in, a half an hour from now.
Okay. I think I will get my fill here on the first bit of the inside out trade. Might make me wait a little bit, but we still have UB at the bottom of NQ. NQ needs to break. YM needs to break. It's not low enough. There's a big negative delta there, 71.25. We'll see what happens. Now, what's interesting, we've got this large liquidity here, 64 something. So that would be about 5 points. That'd be statistically beyond the excursion of a week break. Two-sided day? I don't know, it's odd. We're feeling very toppy on the daily chart, but the all-time high is not too high. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to take that second contract off just so I can bank something. We can always get back in. We'll see what happens on the break. So I've made, sort of half, 2/3 of my inside out move. And I'm still short one lot. Let's just note that I would get out at 69.75. I'm watching the pullback for 30-minute here. 74 would be a nice entry if I could get in there. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. So it's just slightly adrift being a price rejector. We'll see if I get rewarded for patience on really aiming for a price level. If I don't, I'm still short. Yeah, it's on its way. Maybe not. Okay, filled. Good. Still protect this. Yeah, I'm going to be stopped out of this, I think. How that's coming back. Just watching the top of the pullback on the 30 minutes. So NQ up to. So NQ is still dancing around evens here. I think we're okay. We're on our way back down. NQ wants to dance around the big fat round number.
NQ is right on the overnight low.
Yes. And it has unfinished business at its lows.
YM is also right at its overnight.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we got stopped out of that. I still think we're going to break it to the downside, but the question now is how to get in to express that idea. So we've gone up to the big negative delta in that bar, but we're at the bottom of that range, and it's getting to, okay. Look, I'll put one more. I'll put 2 on. I just want to see if we can get down to that level and still keep this kind of bookmark in place to play with this idea. Yes, NQ is teasing us, isn't it, around the overnight low and the big fat round number. Certainly if we get beyond the big positive delta, then I'll wait until we go further up in this bulge here, in the range to about the midpoint, and I'll look to try and get short again. So I'm looking at the pool. Yeah, I think I've been too aggressive on this entry. If we get above 76.5, I will absolutely get out of this. RTY looks to be heading back down to its lows. Okay, RTY is breaking lows. I think we're doing okay on this. YM still has UB at the lows. Yeah, I think this will work out. I guess actually thinking about this bigger picture geopolitically, and the news this morning in the UK, I think we had someone from the Ministry of Defence on saying that they, had very firm sources about imminent IS attacks. The fact this has come to fruition, now the world starts thinking, are we back to 20 years ago and terror attacks? So we get uncertainty. That's going to be how, for the immediate term, money will be spooked by uncertainty because money hates uncertainty. So I think that is what we are now seeing as a thought process. It is just so interesting to note that we have unfinished business at the all-time high. And, of course we do. Yeah, an all-time high is only an all-time high until it breaks again. But I think thinking about the daily and what's going on, I think we could be seeing potentially some bigger picture nice moves down. That's about the extent of geopolitical analysis I go into. RTY and YM. Yeah, absolutely. JVC, knowing when to stop on, very, what would the right word? It's not sweepy, on a...
Just unpredictable.
Schizophrenic. Schizophrenic is the right word.
Yeah.
There you go.
If it's not news that's driving it, it's the schizophrenia around news.
And actually, we were saying, weren't we, the other day, that there had to be a catalyst.
Yep, exactly. So now, whether this is it or not is an interesting question. I'm still not convinced this is it. Okay, we're not down enough is my problem with it.
Agreed. I think we need to get down to about 43.50 until we start to think about, is this too low? Okay, look, I got my fill. We burst through the first hour low on some aggression. I protected my other lot here. This is a Furu term runner. Yeah, but now I want to see how far can I push this trade. I'm mindful of the big liquidity at 64.75. I want to see what happens there. I don't think it's a particularly special level for any great reason. Are there any? Okay, look, I just had a price rejector at the low. I'm going to flatten. We did not break the initial balance low by much. Could we have a two-sided day? Let's watch and see what plays out. We've still got UB at the low of NQ.
I went ahead and bought that again just for fun.
You bought it? Yeah, I was... Because I'm slow, because I'm doing two things at once. Yeah, I've been thinking... That's
It's asymmetric.
We broke it by a point.
Yeah. And there's a decent amount of buying on the tape right now. It's not overwhelming, but it's enough that we could pop up. So
I'm going to, crappy late entry. Yeah. But let's put that there and just play with the idea it might be a two-sided day because we've had the news.
Yeah, it's whatever it is, assuming that's why it reacted, it's priced in now, or more or less, unless there's more information to come. Remember, as long as the economies don't get disrupted around the world, war is good for economies, unfortunately,
Yeah.
It creates jobs and all the nonsense,
But even that crappy late entry, I still got a tick out of it, moving the stop early. So I'm way off where I'd wanted to be long. I'd wanted to be long when that dawned on me.
Here we go.
Yeah. If we get below the contested level in the pullback, then I'll exit this. We can always get back in and see what plays out. That contested level just moved itself. It's sprung apart by a tick. So mini range, no, I don't like that. But there is a potential asymmetric trade here from the low. But NQ, I think, has got to break its low further. We almost have a price rejector up there. Yeah, I think we're going low. How have we done? So that inside out trade's 46 ticks, not bad. 2 lots. I'm interested to see on the TPO, there's that big liquidity around the, was it 60? Just below 65. Is there anything on the TPO chart telling us just ahead of another run of single prints? And we start to go down, we get below 65, we can go down a long way because we've got no great structure in place below there. So let's see. I think NQ wants to go down. Our delta's the wrong way around. I'm going to nibble short. I'm going to lean on the positive delta here. We know that this is the boundary of single prints in the TPO. The delta's the wrong way around in the pullback. Just to look again at those single prints, let's get a sense of where we are. We've got big liquidity sitting at 65 or 64.75. Below that, we head down to this kind of area, 54-ish. Okay, so that's giving me my, what would people say? Line in the sand? Strange word, strange phrase. I'm expressing an idea here, and we'll see. NQ, I think, still needs to break its low. If we get out of the range here in the pullback, absolutely, I'll give up on this idea. I've already done what I came here to do today. But I want to show, let's put some ideas in, let's bookmark them. Yeah, time to get out of that. But I don't know, the screen is just frozen. That's weird. Come on.
I was just noticing that.
My internet connection is unstable.
Zoom is unstable.
PA left a 0, print unfilled at 83. Yeah, that was on the big move down. Lisa, who left a couple, was about 6 or 7 wide and it filled in. I still like the idea of this as a short. I'm going to try it again. So YM, UB at the low, RTY is about to break the low. NQ's on its way back down. Okay, here we go. So that's 64 3/4, which is that first area of next single prints. We've almost filled in these single prints, so I think we have to go lower to certainly 67 3/4. I'm going to break a little bit lower.
We're getting sweeps both ways now, right here.
Yeah.
70.
This is news again. This is a simulation of what's gone on in the past hour or two. And the market it's price discovery. It's assimilating news before it finds a direction. But we've still got UB at the bottom of YM, UB at the bottom of NQ. But a nicely rounded, a nicely defined bottom on ES. I think we're going down. I'm quite happy with what's going on in the pullback here, the big positive delta. I'm going to try this once more. Crappy late entry. I'll try one more there as well, because that was just late into the market. The big positive delta just nudged down. Let's get these out of the way. Move targets to price. Get those out of the way. So I'm trading the range in the pullback at the moment. NQ still has the big positive delta at 300. Jose, on the initial pullback from the low, would the Pucometer have shown a long at above 69? It originally read 108 on the pullback. You're talking about the delta, are you talking about what is here on the 30-minute chart, Jose? Yeah, okay. So depending upon what percentage I told it to alert me or to trigger a puke out of the delta would be what determined it. And the upcoming tool works in a couple of ways. One is what is the we have got sympathetic mode, which is if other people are puking, I'll join in. We can determine how many other people we need to puke before we relinquish. Or we can have projectile puking, which is if everyone were to puke, then how far would we go? How many levels in the book would we strip out? And let's apply some risk to that. Here we go. I think we're on our way down now. We opened, I can just visualize what the TPO looks like now. We're turning into a long and thin profile. The next area I want to monitor is just below 65. Holy cow, NQ. Yeah, we've got to break below. Look how sedate NQ is compared to my ES until I change the scale. This is 1 minute, just so if I come back from a biological break, I've got a sense of where we are relative to inflection points. Okay, I think we're on our way further down now. It's not going to be a two-sided day, but I need to see the reaction around 65 on ES. I need to see what happens at the low of NQ. I need to see what happens at the low of YM. And that's why I have these very simple charts just with the potential structural inflection points. So look where the ATR projection is on YM and RTY. So although we've had some big moves, these two indices aren't doing anything out of the ordinary yet. ATR and NQ is just above 200. ATR and ES is, what, 44.58. What does that coincide with? So 58 is ES. How does that relate to the single print stuff we see? Yeah, we might fill in these single prints, maybe T's around this open of whatever that bar was. Some more aggression down with the zero prints. So I'm interested, maybe I'll take one off around, depending upon what happens around 65. NQ still has UB at the low. And going down further, I think I'll take one off now as it heads towards it. I still think we can go lower. But what's it? Always take profits. So Stephen's question, I said NQ is going to break its lows. What's that instinct? I was just thinking, Stephen, unfinished business. We're hovering around the lows with UB. I mean, it's an auction. It has to resolve itself. 58 is the ATR level on ES. Okay, Jeff's buying NQ, trading the bounce off the low.
Yep.
And I thought that was it. It's doing a little bit more. Okay, it went up to 0 print. It held that. We could be aggressive and put another one on shorts. Don't really want to. Okay, it's filled in that 0 print. How is the low and everything else looking? NQ still has UB. Micros, eh? So for me now, the question is, how low is low enough? I'm still trading this idea of the inside out breaks the initial balance. What I'm now looking for is plausible signs we've gone as far as we're going to go. So I'm looking at metrics like the average true range for all the indices, potential structural levels like that run of single prints, the big liquidity in the book at 64.75. I knew you were going to ask that, Phil. So let's watch the trading at 64.75 as we get down here so we can hone our skill of reading how volume gets eaten up by watching what trades versus the potential replenishment within the book. So the 639 is a single order. We're getting that through MBO, market by order information, on the data feed. So somewhere within the queue that totals 1,075, there's a single order of 639 lots. Now I'm filtering at about 100 lot orders. So there are no orders of 100 lots or more in the book at this level. Yeah, everything is sub 100 bar this 639. It's all itty bitty volume. Okay, so Psychic Lee transmitting to Stephen Bosley. I think we're going to break the lows of NQ again. It should be a ledge break, one of my all-time favorite trades. So here I'm looking at the 1 minute chart, which is just my kind of where are we, just to see what on our journey could potentially stop us moving, because I'm trading in the direction that we're moving. I'm not trading in the opposite direction, counter to the direction we're moving. So now we'll just hold this. This isn't so much one of my set and forget type trades because I don't know where it might end up, so I want to watch it. And with the price rejects we've got at the low, which is what, 2 ticks off that big volume, I'm really reading NQ. I want to see what happens at the low of NQ to get a sense of this ES trade.
Except NQ's going up now.
Yeah. You're doing it again, aren't you?
I am. It's my 2,000 lot.
I don't understand how 2,000 lots in Sim can affect the cash market, but there we go. Oh, of course, it will be the evaluators on their live Sims offsetting.
No, the correct explanation is that what you see as a Sim in my reality is real money.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeff's just hacking the matrix, that's all.
That's right. I'm hacking the matrix. That's what I do.
I just tried one more entry based on the price rejection, the pullback, just ahead of that zero print as well from the open of D period.
So you found a moron?
Yeah. Well, I got stopped out a couple of ticks in profit on that other one, so I just see if I can get one more re-entry. I'm being led kind of by NQ. This is more aggressive than I would otherwise. I want to give you sort of train of thought.
I'm still enjoying going long here. So picking off lots of good scalps. It's perfect scalping the lows like this, because if it breaks them, I'm wrong, but the loss is minimal. It's MAEs are tiny, because that's where, and this is a good example of what we were talking about in this morning. Where the range is at the low of the session. So your opportunities here are really good either way. Right now, counter trend is working, but.
So to Amy's comment, Amy isn't really a perma-bear, she's a contrarian.
One of my mentors used to say it that way, that perma-bears want to grow up to be that.
Okay, so there's an interesting idea here, which is we may still get a two-sided day because this was shakeout relating to news. Look how strongly we're moving up. I can't join in now. The big negative delta here at 71.75 is interesting around this contested level. Thinking has changed. Yeah. We've got this kind of double distribution. It's no good place to get long yet.
We've digested and we're going to burp.
Yeah. And we have got UB at the all-time highs.
We also have not had a two-sided day this week yet.
Okay. How are we doing? We're 10 past 10 central, so we can run till the top of the hour. And what was our excursion from the initial balance? 69 quarter, 65 quarter. 4 points. Interesting. The UB at the low of NQ is a minor cause for concern.
Another thing I'm watching here that I like to watch previous IBs. The IB from 3 days ago. Yeah, we're right at its high. So, and in the low of that same day, the IB just for kicks and giggles is 55. So that's those are two good spots to watch. And that was one of the days that we had a huge range, one of those real volatile days a few days ago. So that's probably a good barometer to measure by for at least the very short term.
So to put a line in the sand on this thought process, I've done a couple of contracts long, late. Yeah, I'd have much rather got long around this 72 level. So if it breaks through that, I'll flatten it. But I want to just play with the idea of we're moving up to see what happens around the zero prints that were left. We did fill in a couple of them. And then could it potentially be a two-sided day? So this is about not being wedded to an idea. Yeah, it's plausible we could go the other way. I want to, what would the word be? It's not a line in the sand. I want to, demonstrate this idea. So I've done a couple of lots long. Well, worst case.
It's less like line in the sand and more like, shifting breezes.
Yeah. Something may well have changed. Let's see if this is the case.
Yeah. One of my mentors used to describe the flow of the market like that. Like, you're laying on the beach and a big wind comes and it blows everything and it goes one way and then it blows the other way. We talk about surfing and waves, waves in the ocean. There's patterns all over nature like that. It's just like Fibonacci patterns. Things happen in waves because, it's just the nature of energy of any kind, whether it's human emotion or whatever, this could break wickedly long if we can clear 79 here. This could easily go to the other end of the range.
And potentially resolve the unfinished business at the high from yesterday.
Yep, and I'm very happily long here still, and I'm actually giving it some room, which is something I rarely do when I'm scalping.
Even my crappy entry. I'm happily long. I hold this. This is now, this is asymmetrical from a bad place. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
We've got the midpoint of the session at 78 3/4. So we'll get a bit of reaction there. But if we move up with some strength, then for sure we can see what happens around the 0 prints on the session, which is where the selling really kicks off. We have this double distribution so far. We can fill the volume in the middle. I then need to see what happens up around 90 and then potentially beyond it. Now, Lisa said, if I went long around 72, yep, my stop would be around 70.5 below the delta at price. Yeah, let's not say stop, Lisa. Yeah, I would be actively thinking about getting out if we were trading down there.
Yeah, can we standardize on the language, not using the word stop, but use the language where you're wrong. Because a stop, that's just such a furu mechanical way to trade, and it never works. You have to use discretionary stops and think of it from a point of view of where am I right and where am I wrong.
Yeah, I would look to get out and accept I was wrong if this happened. I would not leave a stop sitting there because I want to be in control of my exits.
I have a friend who does a lot of coaching of traders, and he's religious about making them, he's physically sitting with them, and you enter a trade, you have to be able to say the stop before you enter the trade, whatever it is, the exit. Yeah. And he refers to that as always know your exits. So he will not put the trade on until he has that number, and then will not move it. That's the way he does it. I'm more discretionary. I like to, watch the trading and get a sense of if it's going the direction that I'm already in or not. But it takes a lot of time to learn how to do that without being emotional. And I sometimes still can't do it without making emotional mistakes.
To Lance's point, you can absolutely always get back in.
Yeah. And that's why you always take profits. That's where that rule comes from.
Which I never go broke because I noticed the price trajectory on the pullback on NQ as we're heading up to the midpoint.
Yeah, it's stalling right here at 77. I took profits too, not because it can't continue. Actually, the LRCs on the wave volume looks pretty good here to continue up, but until it does, we're at risk. So why not take profits?
Why sit around? So I took one off. I've got my core position here. I can always re-enter. There's a price rejection, the pullback here. Can I get one on with a limit order? Leaning on that price. Look at that. The negative delta just moved up as I did it. I got my fill. I'll protect both of these. So one has paid for the other. Where's my...
We've also had some pretty significant sweeps today, which is another reason to take profits. And the sweeps have been mostly to the downside, which is exactly why I usually take profits on a long. So anyway, I'm in again, though, on this 77.75 with some aggression. So I came back in after having taken profits. So
we need to see what occurs at this 78.5, 78 3/4 level.
I think we're good to 80 anyway. That's so far anyway. The LRCs are parallel and up, and the wave volume is, our last bounce was 32 and the pullback was 7K. So that's a reasonably good argument for wave volume move long here. But again, I'm on a really fast time frame. So
now I'm mindful we may well have, handful, maybe more of guests from the public link we put out, and we're talking about, various jargon things, maybe different styles of trading. If you have come into this and TRG is a whole dark pool of information, feel free to throw questions in the chat as to what we're doing, and we can try to elaborate. But I am trading for real here, albeit in micros, and it's working okay. With my bare hands. There is nothing between my mouse hand and the mouse.
I have one hand tied behind my back.
I have no hands. I trade psychically.
You have paws. JVC has paws.
No, it's my left foot. Daniel Day-Lewis.
There you go.
God, if you ever watched the stuff he did for that movie, he could probably trade with his feet now too. I mean, talk about a method actor. That just, he literally lived like that through the entire shooting of that movie. Just mind-boggling.
That's a bit much.
It was painful for me to watch it in the movie, let alone imagine doing that, all the time. Just
we're back story. At the overnight low, which is where we had a bit of contention, I think would be a good word, on the way down. We're beyond the midpoint of the day. Let's see what happens at these zero prints where we plowed down through. There were 4 of them, leaving 2. It could just leave 1. What would that look like in the TPO? Would there be like that little sort of single nugget block left? No. There's this area here. We're going to...
What a great example day we got. Sometimes that just happens. We get lucky,
I called them in. I called them into Chicago.
Called the CME and said, guys, we need a good day today.
Yeah, make it so.
Yeah, make it so, exactly.
NQ is on its midpoint. Let's have a look. It's heading, yes, it's gone past that. It's heading up to the overnight midpoint.
Aggression here at 80 again, but not enough to move the price. That's so far interesting.
Price trajectory at the top of NQ's pullback. It's this overnight low. I think we're going to get through it. Thank you, Yan or Jan. So we have a Yan, but I think you are a Facebook.
Yes, I recognize from the Facebook group.
Yeah. So put a Y or a J in the chat, Yan or Jan, so we know how to pronounce your name correctly. That'd be appreciated.
I also think it's actually Jan and not Yan.
Jan.
But...
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because you eat pasta, whereas I eat pasta.
Oh, of course.
And I'm an American, so I'm over here yawning.
You're making a jumper or something with all that yarn.
And don't forget, the Formula One starts again this weekend. So we have the Grand Prix again.
Indeed.
And I believe we're at Spa first. Aren't we in Belgium up first?
I think so. Yeah, they had the pause, didn't they?
The pause, and then there's 4 weeks in a row. It's awesome. I'm psyched.
Well, nobody knows better about being Grand Prix than Americans. So
that's right, exactly. You're experts at Grand Prix.
So we try to. Well, it's not so much practice what we preach. Preach what we practice might be a better way of doing it. Yeah. But unfortunately, this industry is full of snake oil charlatans. But it's been that way since 1890, 1910, whatever. It is what it is. So all we can do is be transparent as to what we do, and those who are skeptical, fine, be skeptical. Doesn't matter. There's enough people who are happy to take a small risk that we may not be spoofing what we're doing.
The skeptical people can go buy the Algo Box 9000 to their heart's content.
Oh, I sat through a webinar a week ago on the launch of an algorithmic trading system, Black Box, for NinjaTrader. That was based on Renkos and Delta, and you can backtest it to optimize the parameters.
Yeah, I've seen the same one. It's such nonsense. It's amazing.
Yeah. And normally $3,000, but in the next 24 hours it's $1,000.
Right.
But it's one algo, and we're not going to tell you it's engineering, but we might do other algos.
Yeah, and we'll keep updating it for you. Don't worry.
Trust us.
It's mind-boggling. Yeah, it's a total. Send us $1,000 and trust us.
Yeah. Give a man a fish, teach a man to fish, give him the recipe for a fillet of fish. Whatever.
Send him to Burger King to buy one.
Like the one, screw all that. It's unsustainable. Teach him to grow lentils.
I had my first Beyond Burger a week or so ago.
And you're still alive? No mad cow disease?
My head has changed into the shape of a hamburger.
You are the Hamburglar.
Yeah. I'm going to exit one just to take some profits. We're stalling. I don't have to hold out for that final push up to the 0 prints, and we'll see what happens around the 0 prints. Be great if it's 2-sided day quickly. We'll run to the top of the hour, giving me enough time to replenish my tea for our structural group. But I'm Charlie. Charlie's going to be really offended. Yeah, sorry, Charlie. Sorry about your. Yeah. It was grazing in the supermarket oil, and then I was impressed by the texture, but it was not the same as a hamburger. But drown it in a bun and gherkins and mayo and mustard and whatever, it's good enough.
It's a condiment delivery mechanism.
Gherkins. Yeah. I forgot you guys call pickles gherkins over there. I forgot that one.
Pickles okay, or a wally.
Wally.
Yeah. A wally is a gherkin that you'd have with fish and chips.
Okay. I just bought some sampler packs of these probiotic pickles out of Florida, a company called Olive My Pickle, and they're really good. And my stomach, it stopped the bleeding problem I was having in like 3 days.
That makes sense.
Yeah, here I'll put a link in the chat for you guys that has $5 off if you want it. I've really been impressed, and there are all kinds of different flavors and different vegetables. So anyway, just a quick plug for something that's healthy. And probiotic pickles was something, I'd never even heard of. And I saw an ad and I thought that sounds good. And I have stomach problems, so figured I'd try it. And I'm now on my 3rd order. So here, I'm getting a link for you guys. Let's see. There it is.
So Lance is asking if you like kimchi.
It's not my favorite. I prefer all the others. I have a bunch of different vegetables. Kimchi is my least favorite of those. Here you go. There's a link. That should work. Yeah. I have the pickles, and I have the kraut, and I have the okra, and the carrots, and the green tomatoes. So far, every one of those. And the spicy pickles are really good if you like really hot stuff. Anyway. Staying healthy to be trading at your optimal ability. This is part of the equation.
Okra is fantastic. It's not gross. It's one of my go-tos.
Oh, it's great.
I go to an Indian restaurant, a side of okra. Absolutely. Ladies' fingers.
Yeah. And it's not really healthy.
It's a lady with fingers fiber. Like that.
But yeah, it's good stuff.
I'm going to flatten this because we got up to where the aggression started. We've had a price rejector, and it's kind of not happy going beyond it yet. We may well be seeing a nice double distribution day play out now. And we have just defined where the distribution is. So this level here, 82.5, quarter number, nasty edge on the profile. We might stick our nose up it cheekily by a tick or so over lunchtime, but I think we're going to bounce around now between 82.5 and this sort of 70 level for the rest of the day. I think the exciting stuff's occurred till the close. That's my take.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's going to be some good range trading as this settles down, though, because what typically happens when there's a news level event that just moves the market like that, just boom. Yeah. Typically, we get consolidation, and then either just bounce back to the other end, or like we're doing now, this consolidation right in the middle. It generally settles down and nobody wants to stick their neck out, and it could end up being a really good tight range to scalp in an hour or two. So that's worth it.
And is Paul still on the call? I was having a chat with him earlier. So for me, it's coming up to 425 in the UK. So that's 1025 central. After move down like that, trying an asymmetrical trade back in, I would call it a day here. I don't need to be sitting at my machine for another 2-3 hours trying to scratch out whatever I can as it bounces around on a day like this. This is decimal place in the wrong spot. The Sierra chart glitch. I was trading micros on this account, but this is $100 after commissions, I guess, trading a couple of micros, which is okay. $100 is okay, but on 2 minis, that's the net result of that trading. So I'd be very happy to switch off my data, close the screens, and call this a day on this kind of thing. So for me, enough. I will put the monkey back in his cage until tomorrow.
Learning when to say when.
Absolutely. So to fill out the remaining time, I will get my accordion and entertain you with some sea shanties.
As long as you have the monkey to run around and collect with the hat.
Yeah. Kimber was
Yes.
the monkey, wasn't it? Kimchi.
Don't eat the monkey.
So, and Jeff, is there anything you want to add in? Maybe share your screen for the benefit of some of the guests?
I don't know that there's anything real exciting to see here, price action wise. It's pretty quiet. So I pretty much am in agreement with you. I could show my screen if that's of interest, but I don't really have a whole lot to talk about right now. I have some comments on for the scalping group folks, the TRG members that are in the scalping group. There's some very interesting patterns on the LRCs from what we were talking about this morning. I posted one as a beginning of a new pop quiz thread, so check that out in the pit, which is our community for those of you that are guests.
So I think what would be interesting, Paul is a gentleman in the UK who I had a quick Skype chat with prior to this session, who had come into, he was asking about emoji indicators, and I said, no, tools are what you use after you can read this information. It might be interesting for some of the TRG members who have been through training classes, have been in TRG for a long time, and both scout with price action and also read structure, just to throw a few words in as to how long, what has your journey been like in terms of changing how you read the market?
While we're doing that, I just threw up my screen in case somebody wants to just see a slightly different approach. I use very fast charts and then fast footprints and then the domes. So these are jigsaw domes. But anyway, just while we're taking questions or comments or feedback that Lee just asked for.
So I think what I said to Paul, and what I want to say to the other guests is, we can teach this stuff relatively quickly. Whether you can apply it relatively quickly is another matter. This stuff takes a lot of practice to get good at. But if you constrain yourself to the tools and the methods, and I say tools and methods, there's nothing proprietary here. We're reading everything from the raw volume information. Once you can read it, once you know how to interpret it and act on it in a playbook of setups, you don't need many, then you can start honing your craft and get good at it and do this every day. And in a couple of hours every day, trade and have a nice little job. But it's relatively easy for us to teach the right material in a short amount of time. That doesn't mean you're capable. I can teach you how to drive a car in a week, or a driving instructor can. You won't be Michael Schumacher. It's the same thing. This is a learned skill. Meki, it's been a year. JVC, yeah. Stephen, yeah. Cool. Thank you, guys. Checks in the post. So back to you, Jeff. Your fast charts.
Yeah, nothing. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about anything. I'm just kind of getting some views here so we can see some context. We're pretty much range bound. My fast LRC charts are mostly, the LRCs are pretty much horizontal here. So that if we could flatten out a little more and the volume can get two-sided, right now it's not, although it's getting that way. By that, I mean the wave volume going both directions. It's been real erratic. Here, I'll blow this one up so we can see it. Obviously, we had some real significant volume down. You can see the volume swing totals at the bottom here in red, 50, 25, 25, 25, and then we just stopped. So I've been playing long ever since this, and 32 up, 7 down, 14 up, 4 down, 14 up, 11 down. So up until right here, we had a real nice up move. That was about the time Lee said he was taking profits on his long, and I was doing the same, that 80 area. And now, since then, we've been just kind of settled in this range at the lows of the range, and it doesn't have a lot of energy to go anywhere. So if this can build a range in here, between the first hour low and the open 5 low, that will be a real good range to scalp a little bit later this morning.
It has the makings now of a nice double distribution, and it can tease itself at the edges of that distribution.
Yep.
I would be surprised if we have a dramatic excursion beyond either edge of that distribution.
I agree. I don't think we could get a break of the top today. I doubt it. I don't know what, I didn't really read what the catalyst was, and I haven't really thought about it much, but this is looking like a very typical Big price discovery event into the range, and now it's just going to settle down in the range. That's what I would expect. So let's see. There's
the UB at the live NQ. Sure, we can go down there and resolve that with a little sort of spiky kind of move, maybe down to 250 on NQ. But that doesn't mean at all that ES is going to do anything more dramatic than poke its nose around the edge of its range.
One way that can often be useful to kind of evaluate a weird day like this when there's been a news event, news with a Z, one of the things I like to do is take a look at the internals. And this is down volume versus up volume on the far right. And this is pretty heavy down volume, but compared to the real volatile days we had 3-4 days ago, it's not even close. It's in the normal range of up volume, down volume. So at the moment, there's nothing telling me that the bottom's going to fall out of this. In effect, the opposite. It's telling me that the selling's probably over. This is the advanced decline net. So that's, again, big move down and it's flattened out. And then lastly, but not leastly, that stuff over there was on always on top. So let me just fit this in here so we can see the whole thing. Give me a second. My mouse to get where I want it. Okay. So, and then over on the far left is the tick and the cumulative tick. And the cumulative tick is drifting down. But again, this level that it's at, minus 9,000, is nothing. A big move in cumulative tick is 35,000 like we had, 2 days ago, or, the other way up here, 30,000, 40,000. So this is not showing the kind of energy that the day is going to continue going down. It looks like it's going to become a range. That's my conclusion. And that's always good stuff. Those things aren't edges, stuff like the internals, like I just showed you, but it can be valuable supplemental contextual information. It's not an edge. There were 20 years ago, there were some edges in internals when people used to program trade, but I haven't seen any in the last 10 years at least. Since the algorithms and order flow came along, the whole idea of trading off the internals kind of went away because we have better information. But every now and then I still see some guy on Twitter or Facebook, use my brand new internals-based system with the VWAP. It's like, that stuff always looks perfect in hindsight because it's all averages. Duh, it cracks me up. Yeah, we're going to get to the VWAP. Yeah, that'll happen.
Everything horizontal looks perfect in hindsight because you can cherry pick what horizontal things you publish.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. And conceptually, that's the thing that gets me is anybody that truly understands the markets understands that those things, look great on back testing selectively, but executing against them as an edge, during the day is nearly impossible. It's, the VWAP is my favorite of those. These people that trade reversion to the VWAP. How do you manage risk on that? I just,
standard deviation bands on VWAP.
Right. Yeah. So under that, a while ago when we had the big drop, the VWAP was up at 89 and we dropped into the 60s and now the VWAP's at 78, so by the time those averages average out, the good trades are all over. So I just don't understand that kind of thinking. But it's pervasive.
Any validity on standard deviation bands around VWAP because that is so arbitrary.
It's useful if you just want to see a visualization of the price action. There's a Thinkorswim study that's VWAP, that's standard deviations around the VWAP with bands like that, and it looks really pretty in hindsight. But again, if you take it and say, okay, I'm going to trade off that, you end up with like 40-point risk. There's just no way to actually execute a trade. And but boy, there's guys selling systems and memberships, and there's a guy on Twitter, VWAP trader, selling signals on Telegram, and it's all nonsense. It's mind-boggling.
Oh well, such is the nature of this industry. So, for our guests, if you have been intrigued by this, I'm doing a webinar a little bit later today with NinjaTrader. They asked me to come along. I'm allowed to expose myself at NinjaTrader once a year and do things. And I'll be giving a kind of high-level view of the philosophy around this style of trading. So if you go to the NinjaTrader site and look for vendor ecosystem or webinars, You'll find registration details and that kind of thing there. And our main website is tradingresearchgroup.com. And you visit it, it'll tell you about our upcoming courses, which start this weekend and next weekend, respectively. So this weekend, we'll be starting a course on how to read the footprint from raw data and apply this information to trade setups based on market structure, which is the kind of thing which I was doing today. And then next weekend, Jeff will be talking about how to learn to scalp using price action and fast charts, and then transition what you see into scalping off the dome. So we can get you in a position where you have got the skill set to develop on trading in all sorts of market conditions, whatever suits your personality or whatever is happening in price action. So that's the kind of thing we do. We are, 20 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm inclined we should say burning desires going once in a very gentle way, Jeff, because there's not much else to talk about in terms of the trading today.
Yeah, I agree. So if anybody has any final questions or something you want to get off your chest, please put it in the chat and we will address it. Meanwhile, I'm just kind of watching it. We're not going anywhere here. This is going to be a great little range trade later, as long as it doesn't get sweepy. But yeah, if you look at particularly ES, this is its behavior since that big event and the recovery from it. And just, we can close on this comment. Of course, I can't find the Zoom toolbar to draw. There it is. Come on, Jeff, annotate. There it is. So, we had this giant drop here, right? And then, this is kind of the consolidation of the drop, and then we came right back up into the range. So the way I'm looking at this now is, the range that's in play is, sorry, that shouldn't be sloped that much, but it's pretty much this, so in here, this is the range in play. I don't expect this is going to be challenged again unless something hits the news, and it's possible we could drift up here. That the nature of the rebound so far suggests that to me. So, so from a price action point of view, I'm always looking at the volume. This is, big volume up here, a fraction down, big volume up, a fraction down, big volume up, even down. So this right here is when we found value. So if you kind of draw a line there, that's the story. And that's the range. That's kind of how I figure that out, if you're wondering. Anyway, so if you're interested in more, come to the price action course and starting September 4th. Alrighty. So thanks, everybody. Thank you, guests. Thank you, TRG folks. As always, thank you, JVC, for herding the cats.
Meow.
Anything else, Lee? Good presentation, Lee, by the way. Thank you. It was fun to watch.
Thank you very much. So Structural Foundations Group will meet at 1:15. We'll kind of, it'll be sort of office hours, open Q&A on this sort of vertical view. And we'll see where we get to. So I'll see all of you guys then.